You'd like to see my hockey stick.
Oh, you want to see my hockey stick.
Yeah.
I want to see your shawarma.
Shawarma. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Des Roulette. This is Crumble, and he's going to be sitting with us today because it's Christmas. We are going to unbox the entire Funko Pocket Pop 13-day horror advent calendar because I just released my series on the 13-day countdown advent calendar for Nightmare Before Christmas. And I mentioned in those videos that I actually ordered the horror version and they accidentally sent me the Nightmare Before Christmas version. And then by the time I could order the horror version, it came too late. It only got here a couple days ago. So there's no point in starting an advent calendar when you're only 3 days away from Christmas. So I decided I was going to unbox it all in one. Okay, so I just took off the plastic wrap. Let's check out the packaging. My lights are kind of reflecting off of the package, so hopefully that doesn't dampen your experience. These appear to be a cemetery gate. It's a creepy font. I will say the packaging is so cute on these advent calendars. Chris is sitting over next to me, so he may be chiming in here and there. This is my new tool, my new trick. I keep a little screwdriver here so that I don't hurt myself when I open the doors. Granted, that's a me problem. I stopped getting acrylic so that I could heal my nail beds because they're ruined. And that's why they're sensitive. So that's why it's specifically more challenging for me to open the doors than it would be for probably you or your grandmother. What's behind door number one? Oh, so I think this is the Curse of La Llarona. I'm using a French accent. La Llarona, okay? I'm gonna be gringa.
My Sharona, okay?
Mucha gringa aquí. Okay, so this is from the Curse of La Llarona, the Weeping Woman. You know, my Spanish is not that bad. It's that word I just can't get. I'm trying to make it French. According to Wikipedia, the crying woman or the wailer is a Mexican vengeful ghost who is said to roam near bodies of water mourning her children, whom she drowned in a jealous rage after discovering that her husband was cheating on her. So some very wholesome, family-friendly themes here. This film was directed by Jairo Bustamante, and I'm sorry if I'm butchering that pronunciation as well, but now I'm trying to get in the spirit of things. Let's order tacos. This director is a Guatemalan film director. Llarona is actually a well-known character in Mexican folklore. If you didn't grow up with an abuela, grandmother, who reminded you nightly to be kind, you might not know the story. It's the tale of a beautiful woman who, after suffering heartbreak, drowns her children in a river and then, from regret, drowns herself. Because this story does come from folklore, there's a couple different versions, probably depending on which of your grandparents told you this story and who then had previously told it to them. Sometimes she kidnaps children. Some other versions of the story say that it was her husband who killed her children because he couldn't afford to feed them. In another version, her heart was broken because her husband had cheated on her, and that was why she drowned the children in sort of a grief-driven manic episode. But once she realized what she had done, then subsequently ended up drowning herself. In one story, she was barred from heaven. I'm just going to call her the Weeping Mother because I can't say it. The Weeping Mother is also part of a children's game in Central America. Kids play a dark version of hide and seek where the seeker plays the crying mother and calls after the hiders, ¿Dónde están mis hijos? Which means, where's my children? Let's move on. What's behind our number two? Something challenging, I hope. I'm already at 16 minutes.
16 minutes?
One person in. Ooh. Door number two's Funko Pop is none other than Michael Emerson from Lost Boys. This character is portrayed by actor Jason Patric. The Lost Boys was released in 1987 and was directed by Joel Schumacher, who was not the original director. He actually took over the film from Richard Donner in an effort to transform what was perceived as a vampire-themed Goonies ripoff into something more original. Kiefer Sutherland, who is one of the more well-known actors from the film, actually did not want to take part in this film. He was very reluctant to fill that role. But when he heard that INXS and Jimmy Barnes were going to be on the soundtrack, he decided he wanted to be in the movie because they made some of his favorite music. Kiefer Sutherland, of course, is the actor who delivers the very well-known line,
"Maggots, Michael. How do they taste?"
Okay, let's move on to day number three. Pennywise the Clown. Everybody's familiar with it, I'm sure. The original miniseries was released in 1990 with Tim Curry playing the character of Pennywise, and re-released in 2017 with a remake by Andy Muschietti, who's an Italian director. Essentially, Pennywise the dancing clown is a shape-shifting monster originating in a void containing and surrounding the universe, a place referred to in the novel as Macroverse. It arrived on Earth during an asteroid impact and made its home under the land upon which Derry would eventually be created. Derry is the town in which this story unfolds. It feeds on people's fears and hibernates for around 30 years after each feeding. Good movie. Number 4. Okay, so we have another character from it. This is Georgie. Georgie Denbrough is the younger brother of Bill Denbrough, and Georgie falls prey to Pennywise the Clown very early on in the film. Georgie is then used to taunt Bill and his friends throughout the remainder of the novel. Of course, he's holding his SS Georgie paper boat, which frames the entire introduction to the film. Moving right along, please. Day 5. Oh, I think that this is Annabelle. Yes, we have Annabelle, the doll who is featured across James Wan's series of the Conjuring films. Annabelle is an allegedly haunted Raggedy Ann doll housed in the now closed occult museum owned by paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren. Annabelle was moved there after some supposed hauntings in 1970. Ed and Lorraine Warren are real people, and the Annabelle doll was a real doll that was supposedly haunted. So the Conjuring series that included Annabelle the doll was based on her existence in real life. So they used Annabelle as one of the antagonists that appear in the Conjuring universe. She's cute.
Yeah.
I like the Conjuring movies. I like James Wan. Yeah, I think they do a good job. Okay, day number 6. Beetlejuice! Adorable. He's got a train conductor's hat. Now we can nod to our last advent calendar of The Night Before Christmas, because that was directed by Tim Burton, and so was Beetlejuice, of course. Beetlejuice in the film is played by Michael Keaton. Apparently, Tim Burton was considering naming this film Holy Sheets.
Which makes sense, because remember in the scene where they
What?
put the sheets?
Yeah, I think Beetlejuice is probably a better title.
100%.
So Beetlejuice is a bio-exorcist from the world of the departed, if you'd like to call them that, who is hired by recently passed couple, played by Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin, to scare the new inhabitants out of their original home. Of course, as you may suspect, some form of chaos ensues, and Beetlejuice is maybe not what he presents himself to be entirely, aka he might turn out to be more harmful than he is helpful. I feel like I'm trying to protect spoilers here, but who hasn't seen Beetlejuice? All right, on that note, we'll go to day number 7. Okay, I understand what's happening here. We have another Pennywise the Clown, but the original Pennywise is clearly Tim Curry's version of the character, and day number 7's Pennywise is Bill Skarsgård's version of the character. It didn't even occur to me that they do have such different presentations.
Oh, wow, yeah. It's definitely different.
Right? So I don't have to give us any more info, really, because we already talked about it, but I will just point out that Bill Skarsgård's version of Pennywise is holding that red balloon. So many iconic scenes related to that red balloon, most specifically from Andy Muschietti's 2017 version of It, the remake. The It remake is one of my favorite movies. That might be a bad take, but I thought that the remake was really, really well done. And Bill Skarsgård, his portrayal of Pennywise is, it's unsettling. The vibe was very, very different. It was all in the lighting. Very clever. What's next? Day number 8. Now we're moving. 41 minutes in. Of course, we have Regan McNeil from 1973's The Exorcist, directed by William Friedkin. The Exorcist, by the way, is actually one of the most profitable horror films ever made. The story follows an exorcism based on true events. So Linda Blair plays Regan's character. I think she was 12 years old when she played this character. She actually ended up breaking her back during one of the thrashing scenes. They had some mechanism hooked up to her, and it was so powerful and intense, sitting her up and throwing her back into bed, that she ended up breaking her back, and so the scream that you hear is real. Was that her or was it the other character?
That's 100% correct.
Okay, because it happened to another character too. I don't know. There was a lot of crazy things that happened on the set of this film. Some people consider The Exorcist set a cursed set. There were a lot of unfortunate accidents and issues that a lot of the actors experienced during the filming. Coming out in the 70s as well, there were no movies really that were like The Exorcist. A lot of people went into the theater expecting something a little bit more tame and ended up leaving halfway through. Supposedly people were getting sick and vomiting and all kinds of crazy reactions to the film. Of course, now it is a classic, and especially in 2023, tame compared to so many different types of films that have come out in recent years. Our little Funko Pop of Regan has some of that green vomit on her nightgown. She's just a very recognizable character. I dressed as Regan for Halloween a couple times in my youth as a child. Grade school ages, we're talking. Day number 9. Oh, is this the nun? Pretty unmistakable. Today we have a caricature of the Nun. Adorable somehow, even though she's absolutely terrifying. So the Nun movies are actually prequels to the Conjuring series. Another connection there. The Nun and the sequel take place in the 1950s. Essentially, in the films, the nun is tortured by an evil spirit named Valak, and she does all kinds of crazy things, and many other members of the nunnery fall victim to these murderous behaviors and terrifying scenes. She looks great. Day number 10. Oh, we're 48 minutes in now. I have to make it to like a 15-minute video. A huge, major classic of Jason Voorhees of Friday the 13th fame. Friday the 13th, shot in my home state of New Jersey, by the way. And I actually participated in a fan film dedicated to the Friday the 13th universe. And there'll be a sequel where I'll have a larger role. Victim no more, my friends. I believe it's free on YouTube. It's got to be free because the character's got to be written. Friday the 13th, released in 1980. Although he is not the original killer in the 1980s film, spoiler alert, he makes an appearance. It's kind of a short, quick kind of cutaway, but then he actually becomes the antagonist in Friday the 13th 2 and onwards. And there have been many iterations, many sequels, another unmistakable character. I'm like, I don't want to give spoilers, although I assume that everyone has seen Friday the 13th, but in case you haven't, and the mask doesn't come until later, there's mommy issues, there's camp counselors misbehaving. It takes place at Camp Crystal Lake. That's all you have to know. It's a camping movie. Classic horror trope. If you are not a virgin, you are going to be killed. Who's the killer in the first one? We don't know. Yeah. Day 11. I knew it before I even took him out of his little wrapper. We have Freddy from Nightmare on Elm Street, which is one of my favorite series of all time. He haunts you in your nightmares. There also was a remake for A Nightmare on Elm Street. The remake was not very well received. I am in that camp. I was not a fan of the remake. I think that the original series stands up so well, especially by movie 3, when they started making his character so campy. They also did this with Child's Play. So my theory is that when you have a breakthrough horror film, and especially the 1980s, you're already setting the bar pretty high. You have something that people are shocked by, but also completely enthralled with. You cannot keep making the same movie over and over again. That character has to transform. There's always going to be the same formula of Freddy and his victims, but the circumstances around them and the powers he has within that sort of nightmare universe have to change. Making it a little bit more campy, a little bit more ridiculous is probably the smartest thing they could have done. I'm not even talking about the original anymore. I'm on a tangent. I appreciate how his character evolved over time. All of the classics, Friday the 13th, Halloween, the original still stands up because of what it represented at the time. But films that continued with strong sequels had to evolve in a way that I adore, and Nightmare on Elm Street was one of those. Day number 12, we're almost there. We also have Lydia Dietz, who is also from Beetlejuice, which we just spoke about recently. Lydia is the daughter of the couple that purchases the home of the recently departed couple, and because she has an open mind, she can see the spirits of Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin, and she wants to help them. She ends up getting kind of intertwined with Beetlejuice. Part of his chaotic antics include trying to marry poor Lydia Dietz and terrorizing everyone who doesn't let it happen. Lydia Dietz was played by actress Winona Ryder. This particular replication does include Lydia in her wedding gown. We're almost done. We're on day 13. Yes, come join
This fits
me.
better. Oh, he's from Lost Boys.
Yeah. It's Kiefer Sutherland's character now from Lost Boys. Why did I forget his name? I was going to say I'm impressed that they chose some fairly obscure characters. Funko being such a large and well-known brand, you would expect that they would focus on the more well-known characters, right? Like, where is Michael Myers? However, you need to license each of these characters in order to create a replication. Funko Pop cannot just create replications of characters they want without copyright owners. Same thing with songs in movies. If the song is too expensive, you have to pay for the cheaper one. You have a budget. I think that the classic characters that are not present were probably just a little bit too expensive to license. I'm happy with what we've received. Anyway, David, of course, the head of the vampire gang from The Lost Boys.
Now you could have mentioned the maggots, Michael.
How are those maggots, Michael? Anyway, that's it. That's all. Thank you all for sticking in so far. If you've made it this far, feel free to hit that subscribe button. I'm going to have so many more videos coming. This was cute. I like these.
Trying to get him snoring, but
I just tried to get my pups featured. Crumble says, "Don't eat me." Bye. Babe.
it's very fashionable.
Listen, he has his own robe
I do?
on the hook in the bathroom, on the back of the bathroom door, and he still wore mine. La Llarona.
Oh, yeah.
There it is. La Corona.
Virus.
We're done with that one.